Hello everybody and welcome to Tutorial Saturday here with me, CityZilla, in the beautiful city of Zillawood. And if you're new to my channel, this is a series that I'm doing Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I just recently decided to do tutorials and how-tos on Saturdays, and so my goal is to do community feedback related stuff. And so I actually got a comment earlier in the week kind of asking some questions on industrial stuff. And so this tutorial is going to be dedicated to Industries DLC. And so one of the things we're going to do is create a nice oil field out here. And so this is going to be targeted at people who are beginners or maybe just trying to get some ideas. And so it could be kind of boring if you're really seasoned and you feel like you're a pro. But if you're new, welcome, and I hope this helps. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything or if you feel like it could be different. And we're going to go ahead and dive in. And so the first thing we are going to do, if you have Industries DLC, then it comes down this little factory section where your garbage is otherwise, and it opens up all these other little tabs. This one is definitely from Sunset Harbor, and then this is from Content Creator Packs. But the Industries DLC comes with the forest industry, farming industry, ore industry, oil industry, and then also the warehouses and the unique buildings. And so in each one of these tabs, you have a whole menu with mostly just the main building to start off with, and then a bunch of these grayed out buildings. And these grayed out buildings are the buildings that you unlock with different levels, and a lot of them just unlock immediately, the level 1 stuff, the second you lay down a main building. And so that's the same with all 4 of these. And then the warehouses we're going to dive into, these are actually a really unique addition. I super like them, and it's actually a way for you to kind of eliminate some of your yellow generic industry in your cities with the use of goods warehouses. And so we are definitely going to dive into that. And then warehouses are unique factories. This is probably one of the most exciting parts about it. As you level up your cities, you unlock, or as you level up your industries areas, you unlock new factories, and the new factories have different needs, and it's just really fun. You unlock an industries tab as well. I always forget which one it is. You know what? It's the one that's the little factory, just like this one as well. So if you click on it, it actually gives you this nice breakdown of the chain of things for whatever you are trying to do, forestry, farming, or oil. And so this is the extractor buildings. This would be your tree farms or your oil extractors or your ore mining or your farms. And then these are your processing buildings. So what they do is you place down a building for, say, flour, like a flour mill, and it takes your crops and turns it into flour, which is this guy right here. And this is the little symbol that denotes flour. And then the unique factories is what turns that flour into something else. And it's this little diamond. And then it shows us, it's kind of funny, this diamond into cash with commercial zones. And so if you go into the factory panel, each one of your factories has those little circles in the top left, and I can't hover over it, but if you kind of look in the top left corner of that little box, you'll see the oil and the plastic for that one. And so if you come over here to oil, you have the petroleum and then the plastics. And so we know that with the toy factory, or no, the household plastic factory, that's all we need. And so we could ideally do that with just the oil fields, the oil industries. But some of them you need to kind of mix and match. Like you can see with this one, it's got the crops, which is your main extractor building resource, but then it's also got that little shard, which is your glass. And so you get this from ore. And so in order to do lemonade factory, you need to have an ore industry as well as a farming industry. And then it kind of gets more complicated. There's definitely ones with a lot. So like this is petroleum, plastics, and metals, and I think there's even bigger ones. I want to say the car factory is probably the biggest, or the shipyard, but it gets to where, yeah, like this one, so crops, paper, petroleum, and plastics, the sneaker factory. And so it's definitely fun trying to strategize how to go about building out your industries. And so in this city of Zillawood, I actually already have two other industries. One of them is an oil industry that became defunct, but this is our farming industry. And so this layout is generally the layout that I normally use. And so we're actually going to dive into a little more complicated version of this. This was meant to be smaller, and so I really didn't dive into it. But we are definitely going to look at some of the strategies. And then this was the oil field, and you can kind of see I got it all the way up to 5-star. The problem with oil, though, is you end up losing, if you come in here to the natural resources tab, you end up losing all the oil. And so there was a lot of oil here, and it's these little black smudges. It's all gone. And so the oil has all been mined. And so the only thing left to really do here is import. And so I still do have some of the factories here just because I haven't gone through and cleaned it all up yet. And so I have been using bike roads for pretty much my entire city. And so I'm going to continue using that. Is it fair to assume that maybe somebody would bike all the way out here? Probably not, but who knows? Maybe we'll see. And so I want to make sure that it's kind of level. I don't want it all to be this weird shape. And so I'm actually going to come in here and level it out real quick. I think we're going to curve this in actually. And now I've got this weird hill. And so what I normally do, whenever it comes to industries area stuff, you really want to pay attention to traffic. You don't want it to be too big and too congested of an area, otherwise it just becomes a mess real fast. And so you definitely want to pay attention to this. And so what I normally do is create a centralized junction. And you don't really have to worry about precision here just yet, but we are going to be going into some more precise things just now. And so go ahead and put a roundabout in the middle. If you don't have the roundabout mod, it's super easy. You just do a little X for the size of your roundabout. So that'd be like 2 by 2, and then you come in the middle and just go 1 up and then 1 down, and then you literally just go around. Perfect roundabout. And then when doing your connections, keep the little middle road. It saves a little bit of time from having to fix the circle, because if you connect roads on the side for some reason, it changes the shape of the circle. And so that's good. And then we're going to upgrade this road. I normally do highway roads on roundabouts. They're a little higher speed, and so I prefer them. And then I'm actually going to do a 4-lane off of this, because I know this is going to be a high traffic area, and I want 2 right turns off of each. And so what I normally do is actually keep it exactly the way it is, but I'm going to come in here and Control-Shift-click it with the traffic manager anyways, but then come back in and create the 2 right turns. With that 1 dedicated right turn, the second lane can turn as well and not have to worry about them going straight. Just kind of provides another alternative so that people can make that turn. And so we are going to come in here, and I'm going to use the 4-lane industrial road. I honestly normally do the 2U roads here, but as I know a lot of people play on console or don't play with mods, I'm going to use this road because you want to use a 4-lane road. With some mods, the 2-unit 4-lane road is definitely my favorite in this instance, but for the sake of inclusion, I'm going to do this. And so I'm going to have 2 out, and then we're going to follow it. We'll go 3 up. 1, 2. Yeah, there you go. And so we'll go 3 out again, and then we'll come down. Then we'll go 3 out again. And then on here, we're actually going to break a bridge. We do not want any connections right here. And so, okay, that's not perfect right there, but it doesn't really matter for this, this instance. And so we are going to come up here, continue this road up. And I think I'm going to flatten this out real quick. Okay, and so I just flattened it out a little bit to make it a little more reasonable. Being kind of up here on this hill has made it a little weird, and so we are going to continue this out and then go back to our 4-unit road. And for this one, we don't really need to go as far out. And so I think we're just going to we'll do 2 out. I think that's good, but then we'll go 2 past the previous one, and then we'll follow the same kind of grid on this. So we'll go 2 past the previous one right there, and then we'll come across and we can connect. And we'll come up here. Okay, and so I think that's pretty good. So the reason why you would want to put bridges over here is because this is our main road coming in, and we know that this roundabout can handle a little more traffic. And so the goal is to get them to this roundabout without having to worry about traffic. Because this is an oil field, I'm going to remove all these trees. Oil production has a lot of fire, and so having a bunch of trees around just wouldn't be super reasonable. So you can definitely see that the ground's a little fishy. In your cities, I definitely normally like to flatten the ground out a little more, but for our purposes, it's not a huge concern. And in real life, it would definitely just go with the land. But I think that looks pretty good. And so now we're just going to use the regular 2-lane industrial road now that we got our main kind of road set up. And we're just going to make some connections. We'll probably go like right here, and then we'll probably turn in so that, there you go. I think that's good. You don't want to get too crazy with the connections. You just want, you know, a reasonable amount. I think that's a little off, but what can we do? And so I'm just going to mirror that on this side. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's providing access between these two roads without having to go onto the main road. And so it's going to be something that we're going to have to pay attention to, because if it does start to become more of a main road, we want to stop that. And so we'll probably have to come back in and maybe even change it up a little bit. And that's one of the things, like with this game, don't be afraid to just try things out, especially with the industrial stuff. A lot of it is just trial and error. These generate a ton of traffic, and so you end up having to come through and kind of move things around, delete things, and it's just part of the game. It's about trying to have a good time while building out this industrial area, and so I think it's fun. I find a lot of enjoyment in it, trying to do these layouts. And so I'm just going to mirror that on this side too, and these are going to be smaller little roads, and so I think we're going to do that. That's good. And so I want to leave a lot of space on the outside for bigger warehouses and stuff. We are going to do a train hub in here. Whenever you're doing your industry stuff, it's really important to have train access. And so we are probably going to do that on this side. But I want to get in here. And so again, if you're new and you have the Industries DLC, one of the things that you need to do is go into the Districts and Areas tab. And this is kind of a little paintbrush tool. It's how you do the normal districts, but you'll have this Paint Industry Area tool. You can kind of see, man, we got some good coverage around that oil. But we're going to come around the outside, and you want to get area a little more than whatever you're extracting. And so we need some area that isn't directly above oil, because a lot of our industry area isn't actively mining. And another thing I normally do is paint a regular district around it as well, because you still do want to use the other specializations that came with, I believe, the After Dark DLC. I'm not entirely certain though. But this tab right here, and so we're going to do oil industry specialization for the regular yellow industry, but then we're also going to come in here and hit the oil industry tab, and then we are going to hit oil industry main building. And this does not need to be over oil. And so we are going to put that right there. Just kind of tucked in the back. It still has access to the main road. This is what you start off with, the small oil pump. And if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, you have production rate, 4,800 units per week. Each one of your extractions will have some sort of number associated with it. And that's how much oil or farmland or trees that it produces per week. And it kind of changes as it levels up. You unlock higher units per week. You unlock buildings that can extract more. And that's the same thing with a lot of the other buildings. Whenever you have the processing buildings, so for oil you have petroleum and you have plastics. The first buildings that you unlock, this one's petroleum, you get 4,000 units per week. And this one's plastics, and you get 4,000 units per week. Well, then when you get to level 4, I believe you get 8,000 units per week petroleum. And then I think level 5, you get 8,000 units for plastic. And then also for storage. So you start off with small crude oil tank farm at 300,000 units capacity, and then you end up upgrading to the ability to place 600,000 and 400,000, and even a little smaller guy. I guess it's not smaller, but 500,000. And then you also have some props and stuff if you want to spend some time detailing. There's some fences and some other cool things. You end up unlocking the oil industry workers barracks, and I believe all of the different types have workers barracks. And then you have maintenance buildings. The workers barracks increases your efficiency, and so for every building you place, it increases your efficiency by 5%. And so it is smart to place multiple of these. And so we're going to go ahead and dive into this, and we're going to start off with a small oil pump again, because I don't want to suck up all the oil. And so we are definitely going to be dependent on on importing here, and it's okay. I'm not really concerned about it. You do want to spread these out. These are the first buildings that generate traffic, and so we do not want a ton of traffic. We'll put that there, and we will come up here and we'll place one right there. And you don't need to get too crazy with it. I think that's probably good. There's really no rhyme or reason to it, and even when you see real oil fields, I don't think that there's a whole lot of rhyme or reason to it. Normally in real life, this oil field would have much more oil than what it's allowing us to have, but it's all right. And so we got our oil fields down, and then now we need to come in here and do some storage. And so we are going to do the little bigger guys since I already have them unlocked. And so large crude oil tank farm or the crude oil storage cavern. We'll do the tank farms. And for these, you definitely want quite a few of them. And so where are we going to place them? This is the beginning of our traffic. And so we want access all the way around since we have oil fields. We have one right there, one right there, one right there, there. So I'm thinking maybe over here we'll have one. And then probably on the opposite corner, I think that would be good. Yeah, right there. And then we'll come over here. We'll probably put one right there too. And then you know what? Let's do them on the opposite ends too. So that way we can have 4 in close proximity. And so I think that would be good. Yeah, there you go. And then we need to place our extraction plants. Remember, with oil, we want to produce petroleum and plastics. And so we are going to come in here and do the waste oil refining plant, which I believe you unlock with level 4. And we are going to place these down. And again, you got to think about traffic. So right now we have trucks going from these buildings to these buildings. And the extraction plants are going to go from here to the extraction plant or from the oil. And so we want to try to find centralized locations. Maybe we'll place them in here right next to the oil fields. Maybe they can come right in. I think that would be good. The good thing with these ones are really small. Some of the industries area stuff, there's just a ton of them. And so I'm going to do like a nice little row of these. I think that would be good right across the oil fields. And so would just be one giant company that has a ton of these guys that are producing petroleum. And so that is good right there. I think maybe we'll go on the opposite end. Maybe right here, and we'll do the same thing, but with the bigger ones. These ones definitely take up a lot more space. And so we'll do 2, and then we'll come over here and do 2. I think that's probably good for right now. We don't need to get too crazy with it. Maybe we'll come in here and no, I think that's good. And then, so now we need to go into the warehouse tab. Warehouses are super important when it comes to industries area stuff. A lot of times you'll have overflow from extraction, and if it can't be exported, then the building can actually shut down if there's nowhere to send the goods to. And so having adequate storage is really important. I normally like placing these large ones. I think they look really cool, and they really kind of help fill up some of the space. And so we are going to do that. I think we're going to place one. I want to have it on the outside since these do generate a decent amount of traffic. And so I think we'll do that. And then we'll come over here and we'll do it on the outside as well. And then we'll do one right there too. I think that's good. So we got one for petroleum. We got one for plastics. And then because we are going to do oil industry around here, we are also going to go down here and do zoned industry oil products. And so we don't have a huge need for industrial right now, and so I'm not going to get crazy with this. I could definitely do a decent amount, but I don't really want to. And so I think I'm just going to do that and then probably come up here. This does change the aesthetic of it too. It makes it look a little cooler, more like a, traditional oil field. And so I think that looks pretty good right there. It's definitely a little spread out, but it has room for growth, and that was really what I'm trying to do here. Okay, and so we got water, we got power. I went ahead and added in this geothermal plant in here because I think it looks really cool, kind of mixed in here, and then it makes it so that we don't have to do a line all the way across. And then as the city expands, it'll end up connecting to the main city, but I think it's good. And so this is actually a really efficient layout. We are definitely going to hit the play button and see if we come across any issues. And I'm going to go over how to address some of the traffic concerns and see what arises. But my hope is that with these bridges and everything, we should only really see light congestion, maybe like this intersection right here, probably this one right here. just ones where people are trying to cross over, and we could have done more bridges, but I really didn't want to funnel everybody into one intersection, and so I think this is good. One thing left we do have to do is the workers' barracks, and so let's try to find, maybe we'll do them on these rows where we did, so maybe right here. I think that would be cool. And so ideally, these are people who are maybe coming in for their shifts like a couple days at a time, and so they're coming out here for, I think that would be good over here too. It kind of helps fill in the space. You know, I think we'll copy it on the other side. And there we go. And we did end up losing some of the yellow over here, so I think we're gonna maybe go, well, yeah, right here. I think that's good. I'm not putting it on the end because I don't want buildings to grow on this main street, and so I'm just leaving that gap so that they end up on these streets right here, and I think that would be ideal. I think we'll probably do a couple right here too. I think that would be good. Do some smaller ones. And so we do have one more building. It's the oil maintenance building. And so what is this? Placed inside industry area. Where could this go? That would, it would just fit in. Maybe right here, since we have some empty space. Yeah, I think that would be good. There you go. It is a little weird there. Yeah, there you go. Kind of sunk down. But that looks good. Now we got some negative space still, but we have a ton of these buildings, and you can definitely see some room for growth, especially with the yellow buildings as they come in. And we'll probably end up doing some generic zoning as well. Maybe we'll just keep this intersection oil and do some generic industrial around the outside. So we're going to hit the play button. And so I think I went over everything. We got the tab, we went into oil industry, the different levels, placing these down, going through this tab and seeing which of the resources you need for specific factories. We went through the resource tab and identifying certain areas. So this is oil, this is forestry, that is fertile land, so farming, and then the blue area is ore. And I think the only thing left we have to do is to demonstrate the traffic for it and then actually go into our unique factories. And so we are going to be jumping over to our factory district. I'm going to go ahead and lay down this train line real quick though. This is going to take me a little bit. I'm going to branch off this train, have it go up here. I'm thinking in between the highways, and have it cut behind this whole industrial area and then have it turn up here. When you have two cargo hubs within your city, the city can actually transport cargo across your city through the train cargo hubs. And so you end up eliminating a lot of those trucks that are trying to just truck it across your city to maybe one of the generic industrial areas to produce commercial goods, or maybe even to a commercial district. Who knows? But we are going to go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so I ended up building that train line, and I think it looks really good. It definitely took a little bit of finagling. Truth be told, I practiced a little bit before this episode because there was just a lot of hills, and because of the elevated highway in the middle of our city, it was just kind of interesting. It is actually a really cool first-person train ride, and so I think we're going to end up following one of these trains probably on the next episode. But I think this area came out really well. We definitely need some residential, and so as you can see with some of these industry areas, there's just not enough workers, and so they're being abandoned. But that's beside the point. So going back to the tutorial, if you click on any one of these buildings within your industry area, you have this little button in the bottom right hand corner, industry area info, and if you click on it, it actually gives you kind of like the health report card for your area. And so beginning at the top, you have acquisition, 186 barrels. The green is what we are producing, and then the orange is what we're importing, and then this is the cost of that import. And there's a set price for whatever commodity you are trying to sell or buy. It's not really public knowledge, but I'm sure you could calculate it right here. So 111 barrels output, 75 barrels, and this is what you're making. So there's a certain cost per barrel of petroleum versus plastic, and then whatever excess you have ends up coming down this middle, 17 barrels. This is how much money you're making just from the oil industry. And so this down at the bottom, we have area bonuses. These are because of those workers barracks we placed, so plus 73%. Then minus 20% for the pollution, because some of the areas are really heavy pollution. And so they lose a little bit of efficiency. It'd be like workers working in kind of unfavorable climate. So then you have your upkeep cost right here, and then you have the size, total size in cells of the entire area. And so those are those little squares. So this is actually pretty big, 13,000 cells. And then this is how many workers can work here. And then this is how many workers are working here. And so you can definitely see just by the little pop-up window, we have 123 overeducated workers. These type of industry areas like oil and all that, they definitely favor lower education levels. A lot of it's probably grunt work. So it's kind of interesting though. You'd think with oil that they would want some highly educated people, but I guess not. And who knows who sets up this game like this. And so then right here you have your level upgrade. And so we're actually at level 3 already, and we're about to get to level 4. And these are our requirements for that. And so produced resource units until next level. 4,500 is what we need to produce, and then this is what we're producing right now. And so that's just a waiting game. And then workers until next level, so we need 550 workers. Right now we have about 618, so we've already satisfied that requirement. It's just about waiting for the resources to be manufactured. And then so if you go up to the top, that was the info tab. If you come into policies, you have 3 really unique policies for the industry areas. One of them is improved logistics. Packing and scheduling of the deliveries is more efficient due to advanced inventory and vehicle tracking systems. Increases the storage capacity of extractors and processing buildings by 20%. Increase upkeep costs of industrial buildings by 10%. It does slightly increase the cost, but increases the storage capacity of extractors and processing buildings by 20%. That's pretty important. So that means there's, for these buildings, more oil can be stored here and more plastics. And so that's actually really important. And that would help to reduce some of our traffic, because then less trucks would have to be called in because they can hold more. And so the next one is improved work safety supervision. Safety at work is supervised more carefully with strict standards and regulations. Increase workers' health. Cost 1 cent for affected worker. I think that's good. You don't really see too much of an issue, though maybe there's workplace injuries and I just haven't caught it. Then your next one is advanced automation. Robots and other automated systems make the production process faster and more accurate. Increase production output by 10%. Increase building upkeep by 10%. And so I definitely favor output in this. And so I end up using this. It does increase the overall cost of this. And so you kind of want to pay attention to it. If you do start going in the red, maybe you can unclick those or kind of play around with it. Again, it's a game. And so just kind of build out areas, see what you like and see what you don't like. And I definitely have industry areas that I like a little more. I prefer forestry and farming. I think they're fun, and with the trees it looks really cool, whereas like with oil it's a lot dirtier and just doesn't look as good. Like I could plop a bunch of trees in here, but they would end up dying just from the pollution, and so we're not going to. And then so last but not least, if we come into the economy tab, you end up having this income and expenses from industry areas and fishing industry if you have Sunset Harbor. And what this does is it actually gives you a breakdown. And so this little oil icon is our total income and expenses just from our oil industry. So this does not include warehouses or factories. That's just selling straight from the just oil and petroleum from the extraction plants. And so that's actually pretty good. Our expenses are pretty high, but the real magic comes down to this one, and this is blended in with my farming. And so this is just kind of an idea if you have 2 industry areas, what kind of money you can make. And so we're making about 60,000 a week just from the 2 industry areas. And we do end up having, we do have a lot of importing happening for our oil, and at the cost of, it was just 5. So like 4,000 to 5,000 a week is spent just buying oil for our extraction plants so that we can turn it into plastic and petroleum. It's okay, I don't mind it. A lot of times with oil you end up running out, and so it kind of turns into an import business anyways, just so that you can get the petroleum and the plastics. And so we are going to dive across the whole city, just zoom over here, just flying at the speed of sound. And so we're going to come up here, and I'm going to clean up the area real quick. Kind of left this all here because we were still making a little bit of money from it, but we don't need it anymore. These places are all abandoned too. We definitely need to do some residential on Monday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do right now Zillawood. I also do have an unmodded series that I was playing around with. It's kind of on pause right now, just because it was kind of hard switching around. I know you can have 2 Steam accounts, but I haven't set anything up like that yet, and so I'm just doing the one. It's really cool, beautiful city. Come enjoy it if you are new to the channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps. And so, what are we going to do here? So, unique factories. So, we have another cargo hub over here. I think for the oil industry, you end up... So, all we have is oil and crops right now. Is there anything? Glass, food, so animal products, crops, plastics. So we could actually do the clothing factory, which would be good. So we have two factories available. We have the household plastic factory, which is kind of smaller. And so I think what we're going to do, we're going to pause the game because we're going to kind of mess up some stuff right here. I'm going to delete these two warehouses. I'm going to delete this guy, and then I think I'm going to upgrade this guy. And with all industry areas, traffic is a major concern. And so I do have a ton of these roundabouts in here. I have freeway access right there, freeway access right there, and then I also have a slip road that goes to freeway access right there. And it really helps to divide up your traffic rather than having it all go into one. And so the goal is don't have a ton of interchange, four-way interchanges everywhere. Don't have everything in one centralized location, and then have easy access. So if somebody's over here, they can go that way. If somebody's over here, they can go this way. If somebody's on the bottom side, they can go that way instead of everybody kind of funneling down one little area to one exit. And if you just follow those guidelines, you will do well with traffic. And so let's come in here. I want to find our little 2-unit road. I'm going to do a... we don't need to do one way. I was thinking about doing a one way, but I don't think we need to. So we're going to come in here and we're just going to go down. You want to separate these because there's a lot of trucks that go in and out of these buildings, and so I think right there is good. And then let's go in here. So we need petroleum plastics and then unique products. And so let's come in here. And then let's go back into our warehouse tab, which is this little gray guy, and let's see what we can fit in here. I think I made it a little too small. It's kind of funny. Okay, so it looks like we'll just have to delete that, and then I think one of these bigger guys does fit in there. You know what, if I squeeze that over just a little bit, I think we can fit it. If I go there and come in here, can I fit that? Oh yeah, nice. And then we'll just do a couple of the smaller guys. And so that should be good. Having this right here is not great because these are going to turn and then trucks are going to be blocking the road. But so we are going to turn this to unique factory products, and then we're going to turn this to petroleum, and we are going to turn this to plastics. And so these two warehouses are going to put in calls to all the way across our city to the petroleum factory and the plastic factory. But because we placed that cargo hub there, they can actually put in a call to this cargo hub, and they'll just ship it by train from over there to over here instead of sending a truck all the way across. And so we end up saving a ton of traffic with that. I think that's really good. And so let's look at our next one. What did we have? What did we say? Was it the clothing factory? Yeah, clothing. There you go. So we have animal products. We have crops, which is that middle guy, the green guy, and then the 3 dots is plastics. And so this one's actually a little bit bigger. I think over here somewhere would be good. Because I want to we're still going to use this middle section for factories, but we have some even bigger ones than that. And so I think maybe right there, right there would probably be good. So we got a factory right there, right there. That'd be good. You know what, since it's got oil products, maybe it would be good right here because we have that plastic factory already. So let's see if we can, I think we can squeeze that in right there. And again, I'm just gonna do the kind of cul-de-sac road, and these right here are just offices, and so having that noise pollution isn't the end of the world. think we're going to put that right on the inside. And then let's see about putting this in here. And so we have a big unique factory right there, and we also have plastics. And so what were the other two that we needed? Animal products and crops. And crops is actually a really small one since it's not from an extractor building. And so we can actually come in here and just choose one for crops. We'll do a large barn. That's pretty good. And so that carries the crops because it's unprocessed. Just comes straight from the crop fields. And so our next one, we need to maybe do a bigger one. That's huge. Maybe we'll do one for plastics too, just so that they don't have to come across. It can have its own. So we'll do plastics, animal products, and then crops. And then whenever you place a factory, it shows you what you need, whether 2 products or 3 products or 4 products. But then you have production rate at 100%. So if you have like a smaller area, say like your crop area is kind of on the small side and you have a ton of factories that involve crops, maybe keeping it lower is good. I normally bring them all the way up to 150% though. And then it kind of allows me to see like, is it struggling getting any of those products? And then I can go back to that industry area and adjust, maybe place some more crop fields or some more animal pens or another plastic production facility or whatever. And so we're going to come in here and we're going to do the same thing. And then, so we got 2 nice factories now. I think that looks great. This whole area is already looking fantastic. And so while I'm over here, we are going to go ahead and hit play and see how this area does. Let's see if we can get some money coming in. I really like how this looks. I mean, oil is kind of dirty and grungy, and so getting all this, greenhouse gas pollution kind of sucks. But I think it looks cool with like the stacks and everything. And then we got our geothermal power plant in the middle, and this huge factory over here, and those 2 factories over there. So plastics and then oil products. And just looks really cool. And so I think we pretty much dove into everything. Forest, farming, ore, oil, warehouses, and unique factories. We did it all. We placed everything that we could do in here. We don't have any water with oil in this area. We didn't do any services, and so fire is a major concern with these areas, and so you definitely need to place down a police station, a fire department, and still healthcare. Because there are times when people still do die in this area, and so you want to pay attention. If you have the natural disasters DLC, then you also have the fire watchtowers, which is smart to have. So there you go. Because we don't have a lot of trees around here, though, our fire risk isn't super high. And so let's go ahead and look at our traffic. 79%. Yeah, I mean, you can see this really, especially with the advanced logistics, our traffic really isn't building up. This is pretty good. We're producing a lot of stuff. We got some pretty good factories down, and we've got a ton of petroleum stuff here, and it's like the most red area, and it's just coming off that 2 lane, whereas our big guys we put on this 4 lane. And so we're not even really seeing a lot of traffic on that. But you can kind of see, because this main road doesn't have any other connections, they're able to get into the roundabout and then wherever they want to go without really affecting any one street. And so that's why I really like this layout. I think it works really well. And then feel free to do any sort of detailing or anything. Again, with oil, I really don't do anything because I think having trees or anything would be a fire hazard. But if you're doing forestry or crops or anything, you can put in some, some more crops on your own, or maybe even just plant a bunch of trees to make kind of blend it in. And I just think it looks really good. There's a lot of opportunities that you can do with this DLC. It's definitely one of my favorite DLCs, the industry DLC.